Hi, it's Pastor Doug, back with more questions and answers. Today's question is, I think, on a lot of people's minds. What should be the church's response to COVID-19? I actually preached on this on Sunday, and just let me quickly give you my meditations on this. Of course, we turn to our hope, we turn to our assurance, and we turn to direction to the Almighty. But when we turn to the Almighty, where in particular do we go? I mean, there's many places that we can go, which would be good and godly. We can ponder God's sovereignty and trust in that. That is an awesome thing. We can, of course, turn to the gospel, the very power of God, and rest in the full victory we have in Jesus Christ. And that is also a very blessed thing. But I must confess, as we at the church have been trying to figure out how to respond to this, I've actually turned to the law. And I know for modern Christianity, that seems a weird place to turn to. We don't like talking about God's law. And that's very unfortunate because we read through the scriptures, the law is useful. We even read that in the New Testament, that if we use the law lawfully, that's a good thing. We do not abolish the law. We do not set aside the law. May it never be. But we fulfill the law in the freedom we receive in Jesus Christ. And there's one verse in particular that has been guiding my thoughts. And this is from Psalm 119, that great psalm, the longest psalm in the Psalter, which is all about the law of God. And it reads, this is Psalm 119, verse 52. I have remembered your ordinances from old, O Lord, and comforted myself. That is an amazing thing. And so when approaching things that are coming up, I've been trying to think with God's law in my mind, and that gives focus. For example, is the COVID-19 a really dangerous thing? Are we way overreacting? I go back and forth on that emotionally, but when it comes to responding, we have folks from on high who have given us commands and suggestions. The President of the United States has declared a national emergency. The governor of the state of Connecticut, the state this church is in, has made proclamations. And therefore, we are biblically honor bound to follow them. We read in Romans 13, we read in 1 Peter chapter 2, that governing powers get their authority from God. And therefore, when they speak, we as Christians, we as the church, are honor bound to heed them. Now, if they violate directly God's law, yes, we can resist, not in a violent way, and we take the punishment that happens. But the magistrate, to use the old language, has authority. It's from God. We do not get to pick and choose. Yes, in democracy we get to vote, but once they're in, that's the will of God. And therefore we respond with respect and honor. Because that modern phrase you'll hear people say, I'll respect the leadership if they earn my respect. That's completely crazy. That is ungodly. We respect leadership because their power comes from God. And therefore the president and the governor have told us to take this seriously, and therefore we are going to take this seriously. And what a blessing that is, though, that we have people who are in power that can have the resources and the time to look into these things. And therefore our response as Christians is one of obedience. So whether this thing is, the COVID-19 is a serious thing or overreacting, on one level it's been decided, and therefore we obey. Also, the law helps us figure out in the details on what the church should do when it comes to shutting things down. At this church, we have shut everything down, except for one thing, Sunday worship. Because when we look at committee meetings, well, those can wait. Bible studies, though they're important, they can be, pushed off for a couple of months or so. That's okay. We're going to actually have some online. We're going to do it through Google Hangouts and stuff like that. But when it comes to Sunday worship, that's critical. That's directly commanded. And so we are going to be open at 10 o'clock just for Sunday worship. We canceled Sunday school. We've canceled coffee hour. But the public worship of the Lord is the main thing we do. And especially during a time of crisis, what could be more important? Now, we are telling our members, if they want to stay home, by all means, be safe, stay home. We are going to live stream the service on Facebook. We put the sermon up on our webpage Again, we're not demanding Christians to come to church. If they want to stay home, especially if they're elderly, totally understand that. But when we approach this crisis, we should do it with calmness. We should understand that God is sovereign. We should understand the hope that we have in the gospel. But the law is a lamp to our feet. It guides our directions, and it helps us to think things out. Well, I hope that's helpful. I hope you and your family are safe, and Christ's grace to you all. Amen.